What is good? We're back. We got a live Superflex tight end premium startup dynasty mock for your pleasure. All right, mock draft Monday back in full effect. We'll be here rocking with you probably until August, kicking these most Mondays. We got the tripod. We got Big Co. What's good, man?
Man, you know I love mock draft Mondays. I like to see somebody pick good players, and I like to talk crap about the bad picks.
Of course. Chev, how's this side of the dirt treating you today?
Man, it's always a good day, especially when we get to do some critical thinking about some mock drafting.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. Because we're 2 weeks or so away from the actual NFL draft. So now we're going to kind of try to figure out how these rookies fit into the plan of the overall dynasty spectrum, right? We've fought and clawed and scratched and traded blows about rookies and the order and this and that. And now we have to figure out how they acclimate into the actual big boy startup, ecosystem, right? It's a whole nother ball game. As you know, you can dial in the rookie drafts all you want and startups and all that kind of stuff. But then once we're in the actual startup draft, I feel like it's quite a bit different how you value the rookies, right?
Right. It's hard to it's a totally different ball game when you're on the clock as opposed to arguing for months about why this guy's better than this guy or this guy's better than this guy or I would only take this guy. Like you gotta be one steadfast dude to hold on to every single pre-draft conviction you had when you say you're not going to draft a 24-year-old running back in the first round of your rookie draft, but it's RJ Harvey and it's Sean Payton and it's Bo Nix. You say you're not going to do it. I hear you, but show me where you ain't clicked the button not one time. Just show me.
Yeah. And then awesome. when you get into startups, like you scatter these rookies into place here, and then you have to, when you're on the clock, if you're in a real startup, you're on the clock. The clock might tick down, might not get any trades done. You got 5 minutes left. Your trade partner just stopped texting you back, and then all of a sudden you get a little sweaty on the forehead, and you're like, "Am I about to take Josh Jacobs here, or I'm about to take this rookie?"
Right.
So well, it gets fun.
That's always sort of an interesting part of this is the psychological. You value a rookie one way in the rookie draft sometimes, and then you value him kind of completely different in a startup. A lot of the time. So, kind of interesting. That's always been an interesting kind of point to me. As long as I've been doing this.
Yeah, it would watch tonight, even in this Superflex mock we got going on right now. I would not be surprised at all if Cam Ward goes ahead of Amarian Hampton and all the other rookies. But like in a rookie draft, Cam Ward go into 3, 4, 5, 6 spot anytime. In a rookie, just the way when you're breaking it out with a new draft and everybody's on the board and you see all those quarterbacks go off, and then you're comparing Cam Ward to a couple other quarterbacks that you like, and then all of a sudden it turns into old Matt Stafford and worse, and then you're like, all right, well, I see Hampton here, I see Travion here, but I see 20 running backs whose name I know, and I see 35 wide receiver who I like. Then you start looking, then things get all jumbled up, That's what happens when you get on the clock. And that's why a real startup draft is just the best. Like, that's why you shouldn't ever rush people when they're on the clock in a startup. Don't rush yourself. Trade up, trade back, enjoy it, because you only get one. And the next time you're on the clock, it'll be a rookie draft.
That's right. All right. So we're a round and a half into this thing. We got Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, the top three off the board, quarterback. Then we got Jamar Chase coming in at the 104, 105. We got Jalen Hurts, 106. We got Justin Jefferson, 107. We got Malik Neighbors, and Brock Bowers comes in at 108. Tight end premium 1.5. Then we got Burrow and Mahomes coming in at the 9-10 spot. What a day for those guys. Then we got 111, Bijan and Gibbs coming in, the first two running backs off the board. Then turning the corner, we got ASB and Genty coming in at the 2-2. So the top three running backs off the board right after the turn. Then we got CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas, Drake May, Justin Herbert, and Achane all coming off the board here. We got Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud still on the board, Bo Nix. So we'll see how the quarterbacks kind of shake out. And there goes Nico Collins. So Any thoughts on the starts of this mock here, fellas?
I mean, I've said it before. I'm gonna say it again. I don't understand why Justin Herbert's going ahead of Bo Nix and startups right now.
Oh, I can get that. We've seen Justin Herbert air it out and be a big time passing touchdown kind of guy. Their offense took a couple years off with the lack of players, and then you had they had the Staley head coach situation where he just supposedly was a defensive genius, and then where was the talent around Herbert? It kind of just dissipated. This is the highest I've seen Drake May go. I get it, Chev. I've become a huge Bo Nix guy. Like he was one like I really needed to see him play in the NFL first, but he was cool, calm, and collected, like the other side of that pillow. R.I.P. Stuart Scott. I'm a big Nix guy, but I feel like I don't mind. I don't mind that. I don't mind Herbert going in front of him, and I understand. I mean, even that right now in this draft, there's a six spot gap there. That's just the way because people are taking Nico Collins, Saquon Barkley, Achane, Trey McBride. Like it's not a quarterback to quarterback comparison right there. They're basically neck and neck, just the way it's fallen out.
Yeah, no, this has been a hot button discussion amongst me and some of my buddies today. Like, obviously Herbert is a prodigious talent when it comes to throwing the football, but the Jim Harbaugh offense doesn't lend itself to giving him 600 attempts. It doesn't lend itself to being prolific. It's as balanced of an offense as it comes. And they ran the ball. They ran and passed the ball equally. Now they've invested heavily in both of their the wide receiver position and the running back position. But I just don't see this. I don't see this being something where he got the stack right there too. Good job, Hoodie. I love that start. But I don't have anything against Justin Herbert. I just think the fantasy ceiling might be limited, and I don't want to be caught, staring into 2022 when we're 3 years down the road. And Justin Herbert's a hell of a quarterback, and they're going to win a lot of football games. But I don't know how many of those games is going to be him going for 320 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an argument to be made about potential volume with if Sean Payton is going to dink and dunk all the way around the field, and Bo Nix will be a little bit. He's still young. Bo Nix got that. I just rolled out of bed and I'm warmed up. Look to him. He's still brand new. Like Justin Herbert, we saw down the stretch last year when games started to kind of count and they made the playoffs, and he started running a little bit more, especially all it takes is that one primetime game where everybody's watching and Herbert's dancing for 20 yards here and 10 yards here. It's like, oh, yeah, Herbert can run. We just forgot that the Chargers were even a football team for a couple years because they just had a lack of leadership. You're right. I mean, Bo Nix might have more attempts this year. And I think like that rising tide, man, I think the Chargers as the whole organization that was 1 year under Harbaugh. It completely took away the laughability of the team. Like they for 5 years straight, they were one of the best rosters in the league, kept getting hurt all the time, couldn't stay healthy. What's going on? Like all of a sudden Harbaugh gets there. They probably get a new nutritionist coming through, another physical therapy man on staff. And like all of a sudden they're just, it's a good team. So I think, let's give it a chance, but pass on a quarterback in round 2 and be the first one in line for 3-1 for Bo Nix. If that's not I'm all about the team that got Nix has Gibbs and St. Brown at the 1-2 turn, and then at the 3-1 reversal, he gets Nix. Like I'm down with that.
Yeah. That's tremendous value to me. This third round is littered with players that I actually love.
Sure.
I got a question though. What stands out to y'all right here?
In what, third round?
Yeah, third
Travis
round.
Hunter.
Yep.
Okay. I haven't been able to get past Bo Nix at 3-1, but what stands out to me is that Trey McBride falling all the way to 10-9. I went to Casey's house today, and he had a
2-9
first read. What's that?
2-9.
What'd I say?
10-9, I think.
2-9?
Yeah.
Anyway, Trey McBride falls to 2-9 in this draft right here. On Casey's computer today, when I opened it, the first thing was first read target percentage for wide receivers in NFL last year, and Trey McBride was top 10. He was number 10, and that means that he got first read target percentage more than everybody else. except for a handful of guys. And Brock Bowers, our beloved Brock Bowers, was down at 20th. Now we're talking, the way those difference between 10th place and 20th place might be, 29%, 29.1%, 29.3%, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're tight end, when the tight end that caught the second most balls in the league last year was the first read on almost basically 40% of dropbacks, and they just gave him $50 million guaranteed and signed him up for 4 more years. Trey McBride ain't getting past me at the beginning of the second round, bud.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's incredible value. Like I said, I think, if Trey McBride had like 8 touchdowns last year instead of 4 total, I think that we're talking him. They could be neck and neck with each other or be a little bit closer because Trey McBride's only 24, 25 years old.
That's exactly right. That's what you and I talked about on the Patreon show we did last week. That was, Trey McBride he set the record for the most targets and the most catches by a player in NFL history before he got his first touchdown of the season.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's, the old variance and the regressions coming. And Trey McBride, if he gets 5 touchdowns, that's a big, he's going to get 100 catches. If he doesn't get hurt, he's catching the ball 100 times. And in tight end premium, that's better. He's going to score more points than Brian Thomas and Puka and CeeDee Lamb, most like. CeeDee Lamb had the 150 catches 2 years ago. It said there's going to be a wide receiver not named Jamar Chase that outscores Trey McBride, but I'm not sure which one it is. That's the point. Like he's going to be top 5 point scorers with wide receivers, and he's taking up a spot at tight end. And obviously, you got to make that investment in him, but somebody else doesn't have him. There's 2 studs, and then Travis Kelce's hanging on, but the actual tight ends that catch 100 passes, there's 2. There might be a third or a fourth, but like that's 2/3 the rest of your league that doesn't have one.
Right. Correct. Right. All right. Let me catch this thing up for you guys listening on the pod. We got Trey McBride at 209. We got Caleb Williams at 210, Nico at 211, Saquon at 212, and then starting off the third, Bo Nix. Much debated here, or much talked about, or I guess applauded there. 3-2, Omarion Hampton. So nice start for
early
Chance De Leon or whatever. He's got Bijan, Genti, and Omarion kicking it off. So it'll be fun to watch him build that out. We got Marv at 3-3, Stroud at 3-4, Travis Hunter at 3-5, Drake London at 3-6, Lad McConkey at 3-7, Brock Purdy at 3-8. We got JSN 3-9, AJ Brown 3-10, Jordan Love 3-11, and Rashee Rice coming in at 3-12. And then to start the 4th round, we got T. Higgins, Bucky Irving at 4-2, Garrett Wilson at 4-3, Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy, coming in there at 405. Then we got Tet McMillan, Travion Henderson, James Taylor. Yeah. We got Taylor coming in at 408. We got Kyron Williams.
Taylor.
Yeah. We got Kyron Williams coming in at 409, Breece Hall 410, and Breece value getting better and better. Laporta coming in at 411, and then James Cook hot and heavy there at 412. Starting the 5th round off with another rookie tight end, Tyler Warren. We got Baker Mayfield and Michael Penix. And then coming in at 504, Devonta Smith, Trevor Lawrence, Cam Ward. There you go. And Rome Odunze, the last pick right now before the rest of the round fills out, coming in at 507. And now forgive me if I'm struggling on some of the numbers. I'm very much zoomed out right here, and I don't have a second monitor since I'm in my kitchen doing the podcast tonight. Got some guests, so got kicked out of my
In-laws are in town, and you had to move around. Cam Ward gets taken. A handful of rookies went before Cam Ward in this mock. Mm-hmm. Complete opposite of what happened when Chev and I were looking at some stuff last week. So there you go. The variance from draft to draft, every collection of 12 guys, and the way they decide to disperse the order of these. Like James Cook at 412, Breece Hall at 410. Just some wild stuff going on.
Yeah, man. That's James Cook's a little early for me. Breece Hall value great there. Like the Taylor, Henderson, Tet, JJ's way early for me there. Maybe not way early, but a little early for me. The Garrett Wilson value continues to get better as well. That Jets hate is strong. Jordan Love at 311, still a good value. Purdy, probably the earliest I've seen him in a minute. Maybe I've been seeing him 4th round pretty consistently. And then Travis Hunter before Drake London and Lad, probably a little rich for me there. But
way rich. You kidding me?
CJ Stroud at 304. Still continues to be good value in the third, fourth, and fifth round of startups with quarterbacks. So like that. You can build quite a different team without having to go quarterback early. Now, it's not to say that it's going to be the right recipe because you have to hit the combinations right, but Burrow and Stroud, and then Puka and Kyron and Devonta Smith could be awesome. Penix and Mahomes could be awesome, right? But Caleb Williams and Lamar Jackson might be lights out, So
right. I mean, you're essentially, I mean, what Timmy did here is, I mean, you got a bona fide top 2 option, top 3 option, and then you go back and we're assuming that Caleb Williams is going to take that massive leap forward that Jared Goff did in the Ben Johnson offense, and then you load up at wide receiver. I mean, I think it's tremendous value him going and being able to get Xavier Worthy 2 rounds after, almost 24 picks directly after Rashee Rice went off the board, because we don't know. It's creating a lot of value. There's a lot of value created because there's a bunch of confusion in Kansas City about who's going to do what and where and what the roles are. And I mean, give me the guy that can score from 80. I mean, you saw that. I keep going back to it. You saw that throw in the Super Bowl, and it's almost identical to the throw in the preseason with Tyreek Hill and Mahomes 7 or 8 years ago, where it's just, I'm going to throw as far as I can. You run as fast as you can, and they're not going to be able to keep up with you. And I think that might have unlocked something in that offense. I mean, yeah, you can say it was a blowout, but sometimes you find some things in a blowout and, that can become part of your identity again. And I think they lost that because they didn't have somebody that could take the top off the defense. I mean, Mahomes operated at an incredible level, and Travis Kelce was still peak Travis Kelce. So they figured it out. But now with that type of dynamism in their offense again, I think that, I mean, Xavier Worthy going 2 rounds after Rashee Rice is tremendous value. And I'm a huge Rashee Rice guy. I heard you talk about it, Co. You don't think he's going to get suspended. And that's probably where he should go if he's not going to be suspended. I mean, even if he is going to be suspended, who cares? He's not going. It's not like he pulled a Michael Vick. I mean, like, we don't even know. Like, he's not going to do jail time. It's just he's going to get suspended by the league. Maybe we don't. It's probably not going to be this year.
Yeah, that's Lamar Jackson, Timmy's first pick there. That Chev talked about a top 3 option. Didn't say for the podcasters listening later. Lamar Jackson first pick, Caleb Williams second pick, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Xavier Worthy, DJ Moore through 6 rounds. So 2 stud quarterbacks and 4 stud wide receivers.
That's fun.
I like it. What you said right there was key there, Chev. Like the peak Travis Kelce made up for a lot of problems in Kansas City. Obviously, Mahomes had to distribute, but like the mind meld between Mahomes and Kelce and Andy Reid calling the shots, that made up for a lot of lack of otherwise personnel around those 3 guys, the head coach, tight end, quarterback. And now they have since reloaded, and we don't know until this year what it would have looked like with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice on the field at the same time. A rookie, obviously week 1 Worthy, whatever, but like as the season went along, as Worthy became a professional wide receiver, and if Rice was still out there, we don't know what that would have looked like. So, and then, they go and add another stud in the draft whose draft stock slid because he was hurt and didn't get to produce this year like he was supposed to. And so who's that? Jalen Royals, right, Casey?
Yep.
Right. So, and then you got that. So, and then you still got Hollywood Brown. So, like, if you think about it, them boys could go 4 wide with Rashee Rice, Worthy, Royals, and Hollywood Brown. And there's not a DB package 4 deep to keep up with those guys in the league. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs draw up their X's and O's this year. But, this draft, Patrick Mahomes goes at 110. In another draft, he might go at 2-3. So capitalize as you will.
Yeah, real quick, we got a shout out to Coop Cooper. We got a shout out to Luis. We got a shout out to our boy Chris. Shout out to Colt Snooty in the chat. What up, Colt? Long time no see. Luis asks, is Henderson over JT, Kyron, Brees a reach, or is that what you guys expect? So I think Big Co, you take the first round on this one because I think you're probably. I like Travion a good bit, but you might be feeling him the most.
Yeah, I mean, again, like if you think that, like if you're on the clock and you're like, hey, I want to take Travion Henderson here in the startup draft, the rookies are free for all. Like there is no consensus. There is no he should go about right here. Somebody might be like, I'm drafting all rookies. Like,
Sure.
some people want 3 quarterbacks in 4 rounds, like the Naughty Fox did right here, JJ McCarthy at 4-5. Maybe that's a little bit early based on ADP, So if I don't mind taking Travion Henderson because he's the new shiny object and he's got all the value, right? Especially like right this minute. Think about it. The falling knife that will be Kyron Williams, if he for some reason gets a knee injury this year, because everybody's ready to throw him out with the bathwater already. You want to take the guy that has to have a contract extension with McVay to stay relevant, or you want to take the guy who just got drafted early in the second round with Drake May, So yeah. I'll take Henderson over those guys. Does it feel right? Is Breece Hall's in that conversation? So like, yes, I should be taking Breece Hall because he's proven it. And Breece Hall's the same age as these rookies. Like my man came in at like 17 years old to the NFL. He's young, but he's in a contract year. Like the Jets would be ridiculous not to try to win. Like new coach, who knows what's going to happen with Justin Fields, but like they say they got their franchise quarterback. So the Jets, I don't think the new coach is running out there being like, we're going to lose a lot of games and hope we get Arch Manning, right? So like, why wouldn't you just run the tires off Breece Hall? Because he's better than anybody else you got. I don't care if you got 3-headed monster. Breece Hall's better than those other guys. And but if for some reason Breece Hall disappoints this year, he's already, there was a letdown last year, which wasn't as bad as people are making out to be, but like, we had high hopes. Like the reason, like the expectation, the opportunity cost. When you're drafting Breece Hall, where Ashton Genty's going this year, when you're drafting him last year at the 2-2 and the 1-2 turn right there beside Bijan, and now Breece Hall's the one that loses 2 rounds of startup value, and Bijan's in the same place. That's what hurts with Breece Hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I could take Travion Henderson.
I would go JT, Breece, Henderson, Kyron, and mostly just putting Kyron on the back end of that because we got 1 year and we're not really sure. His usage is really high with the Rams, and it's probably going to stay that way. Maybe it dials back just a hair, but it's most likely going to stay that way. Does he stay a Ram after this? We don't know. I feel confident in the other 2 guys, regardless of what team they're on, that they're going to be used and good. And then I'd put Travion in there. So not a huge shakeup for me, as far as if that's what you want to do with the rookies and stay young. And hey, I'm kind of with it, right? He took RJ Harvey 2 rounds later and Cam Ward in between that. So 3 rookies in a row for our boy Keiko being there. So, shout out to you. Been a long time drafter. So appreciate you.
Well, Casey, before we get,
and then he took Golden again, so he's just got a bunch of rookies. So like the idea, and then he's got Neighbors in May. So kind of how and what he's building is something that I'm definitely attracted to. Of hey, you're building a team, you got all these assets now, and he's got Drake London in May and Neighbors, which he knows he has rock solid, cornerstone pieces there, and then he just took a bunch of gambles on young guys, and really like. Those guys' value is going to stay good. And like you said, like Breece Hall's value could continue to plummet, even though I feel confident that he's on my team and I don't really care about that part. I know I'm building the winner here, so I'm all right. But his value can tumble. Kyron's can tumble. Travion's is probably going to stay pretty stable for a year. Cam Warren's is probably going to stay as long as they just show something, Golden, Harvey, all those guys. And people are going to be wanting them. Half the league is going to be like, oh, my team sucks. I need to get younger. I've made a bunch of bad picks and I'm old. So he's going to have liquidity and how he can move about. So that's kind of how I view that a little bit.
Well said. And this is a conversation that you were going to get into no matter what in the draft. You found a spot to do it. It just happens to be right now Kyron Williams versus a rookie Travion Henderson. Travion Henderson's going at 1-3, 1-4, 1-5, 1-6 maybe, in a rookie draft, right? So like if you're in your rookie draft right now and Travion Henderson's on the board at 1-5, you're not trading that pick away for Kyron. You certainly couldn't give Kyron to get it, right? If you got Kyron Williams on your team, you can't trade away Kyron Williams to get the 1-4 or the 1-5 in a rookie draft to be able to get Travion Henderson. And yet they get 2 picks away from each other in a startup. That happens all the time in the startup. That's exactly the implementation where we merge these rookies in to value. which, so like that's what you were saying. Like, so you got Travion Henderson, insulated value, pretty much can only go up from here or stay the same. And Kyron Williams, even if he does stay the same, is pretty much only going to be able to go down because he's a little bit older. And if who knows what's going to happen with the Rams and their ability to their interest in giving him a contract worth keeping him, because you can't argue with the stats. Last 3 years, the stats are the stats. I told you, but he's got more rushing touchdowns than Derrick Henry in less games played because he got hurt a couple times. So if the Rams want to if he wants to give him a little hometown discount to stay with his best friend Sean McVay, head coach, then maybe. But if he says, "Hey man, I'm a running back in the NFL, and I've been riding with a 5th round rookie deal here, trying to get me a couple of Lay's potato chip deals to score some money. I got to go get the most money I can get on my contract here from whoever, from the Titans." Who knows what happens with Kyron Williams after this year? With the little bit, maybe the less than 50% chance that the Rams want to give him what he's worth based on his stats.
Yeah. All right, Chev, what do you got here? Because your look seems like you're gonna be the Debbie Downer here.
I mean, if you want to take him over, if you want to take Travion over Kyron Williams or James Cook, that's fine. Mm-hmm. There's zero chance that I'm taking him over Jonathan Taylor or Breece Hall. Those are both.
I agree.
Those are both foundational. I mean, you said it. You hit the nail on the head. The time that you'd be able to get the 105 for Kyron Williams is September. And you're not going to know what that pick is at that point. Once football starts happening, Kyron Williams' value is going to shoot up because people are going to start convincing themselves of some sort of narrative like, oh, he's Sean McVay's bell cow and he's going to hit the open market and get $15 million a year. I mean, there's, a bunch of people are coming out and talking about how he hadn't had any 30-yard runs or whatever it was in the last, I think, year or 2 years. And so, it very clearly seems like a lot of people believe that he's a product of the system. I don't know that I necessarily believe that, but it definitely helps. There's no question about that. He's not just going to go somewhere and be like you said, you take Jonathan Taylor off of the Colts, he's going to be awesome. If Breece Hall goes somewhere else, he's almost certainly going to – it's a Saquon type situation where he's going to be better.
It would be better, yeah.
in another uniform than he would be for the New York Football Jets.
Please trade him.
I just, I don't think they're going to have the wherewithal or the gumption to actually pull off a maneuver to trade him. So they're probably either going to let him, franchise him and then let him walk, or give him the new deal if he goes nuclear this year. But I'm banking on the fact that he's in a contract year. And, Tanner Engstrom comes in and they're more of he had a lot more success in like gap and man schemes as opposed to the wide zone and stuff that Aaron Rodgers' little dude boy was running last year.
For Breece, you mean?
Yes, for Breece.
Right.
Yes. Nathaniel Hackett. I always forget his name. I just Aaron Rodgers flunky is how that's how I crystallize who he is in my mind. So yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, Travion is in it like that Patriots ecosystem is going to be better for fantasy than I think. That's the situation. I always try to find that offense that added an outside receiver, or an alpha receiver, which I do believe Stephon Diggs is that. And those, I'm not going to be completely fooled by the workout videos of him looking awesome 5 months out from an ACL surgery. But I mean, they also added Kyle Williams. So they did a bunch of stuff that I liked, and Travion's a part of that. So, over Jonathan Taylor and Breece Hall, no. But over James Cook and Kyron Williams, absolutely.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's pick up from Roma Dunze at 5'7". We got a lot of action. We got Ibuka, Judkins, Worthy, Chase Brown, and Jacobs finishing out round 5. And then starting off round 6, we got TJ Hawkinson, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, Caleb Johnson coming in at 6'4", Loveland coming in at 6'5". Then we have Waddle and Harvey at 6'6", 6'7". Then Jared Goff, Georgie Kittle, CMC coming in at 6'10", Terry McLaurin 6'11", and ending round 6, we got Bryce Young, and then we got Jordan Addison, DK Metcalf, and George Pickens firing off the 7th round. Then Dak Prescott, Dakota at 7.4 value, baby.
That's crazy.
That's wild. Chuba at 7.5, Golden at 7.6, Tua at 7.7. That's kind of one of the earliest I've seen Tua in a minute, and I think Hoodie might be a Dolphins guy. But then that was his second quarterback, so he was scrounging around, so he needed something. I like it. We'll touch on Tua maybe for a second here. Then we got Kenny Three Sticks, Jackson Dart, and Justin Fields. A little earlier than I want to touch those guys. No Diddy. Mark Andrews, then Geno Smith coming in at 7.12. That seems super early for Geno. Then we got Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Luther Burden, Jameson Williams at 8.4, Ricky Pearsall 8.5, Chris Olave value baby 8.6, 8.7, Josh Downs, David Montgomery, Ayuk, Scatabo, Jerry Jeudy, and Jaden Higgins at 8.12. And then starting off the 9th round, we got Pacheco, Darnold, Kraft, Trey Harris coming in at 9.04, Cortland Sutton at 9.05, Alvin Kamara, Anthony Richardson at 8.07, Jaden Reed, 9.7, sorry. Jaden Reed, Shakir, Njoku, Kincaid, and Mike Evans rounding out the 9th round, and 10th round kicks off with Tyreek Hill, Jack Besh, DeAndre Swift, and Brian Robinson. So 2 running backs to what in the 10th round, the last 2 picks, 2 guys that had big time survival rate after the draft there. Those guys got a second lease on life here, and are still kind of fun picks here in the 10th round if you need a running back. Those guys, and then ETN as well. So some solid running back fun in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th round right now, I feel like. So all right, boys. Went through a lot of picks there. I think Dak's one of the biggest values through all those picks. Fields and Dart seemed a little heavy to me. Geno seems a little early for me. What do we like? What do we not like? RJ Harvey at 6.7. Golf in the 6th round seems like a pretty solid deal. Scatabo seemed maybe a hair early, but I haven't been pacing on where Scatabo's kind of been going. But you are kind of in a little bit of a no man's land with running backs. Do you want to skew young? Do you want to draft a couple of old guys, or do you want to take the guys like Swift, ETN, and Brian Robinson, who you're not exactly sure how to feel about them? I feel actually half decent about most of those guys. But thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, what do you got?
I'm going a different direction here.
All right.
I don't understand how Naughty Fox, like, you're going to take a 49ers pass catching option. Like, why is it Ricky Pearsall over Brandon Ayuk? Like, we know Brandon Ayuk's going to play, whatever. If you think he's going to be out for the first month of the season, sure. But we know he's got a $120 million contract. We know that they're going to play a bunch of 12 personnel. They might shift to 11 personnel, but I mean, we haven't seen that to date. CMC's coming back. And we know one of the wide receiver positions is completely solidified. And Brandon Ayuk's going into his age 27 season. Like, we're a year removed. Yes, he sucked in 2024, but so did Chris Olave. And we're not throwing Chris Olave out with the bathwater like Co said earlier. So I don't understand that in particular. So,
well, we already have. I mean, Chris Olave's out down to 8.6. He got thrown out with the bathwater. Like that 8.6 Chris Olave is fantastic value. 8.9 Ayuk is fantastic value. Now, when Naughty Fox takes Pearsall at 8.5 ahead of Ayuk, like, that might be a personal preference. There's a lot of things that Ayuk did before he signed a contract on the way to trying to get that contract signed that rubbed some people the wrong way. And then he got hit, that the contract and him getting hurt probably had nothing. He held out, had nothing to do with him getting hurt, et cetera, et cetera. Like, obviously, if he snaps his hamstring on the first,
definitely hurt some production, and he didn't look ready to go.
No, for sure. But like the ACL part that could have happened at anybody at any time. Like, it, if he'd come out there and blew his hamstring off week 1, that's lack of conditioning for sure. But I mean, it's like, if Ayuk is a dropping knife right now, and he's probably going to be one of those guys, Chev, like in 5 months, maybe 6-7 months, because we might need to get into December and before he's really healthy. Like, it's going to be great value, and whoever bought the guy that's nobody wants to get right now on their team is probably going to turn a nice profit. But I like Pearsall myself, and he's a safer option in a dynasty build right now. Nobody wants Brandon Ayuk. You can't trade for. You can't. You could go get it for peanuts, but you can't get any value from him. He's a throw in a trade right now. And to say like Chris Olave at 8.6, fantastic value. Ayuk is incredible value right there too. Like I just like the guy who took Pearsall. Like he, might have been playing. He's a pretty much everybody on his entire team so far has been super young until he gets to the 10th round and takes Najee Harris. It might be he might be an ageist. Ayuk might be too old for him.
Yeah, I mean, potentially the killer, or no. So Go Jin, he said just the other day, y'all were saying that Ricky and the first will land you lad trade value greater than for Ricky. I don't know if I ever said that. So, but I mean, maybe if it was a high rookie pick, or a high first. I don't know if that's ringing any bells for y'all boys.
I don't recall.
I mean, depending on, obviously there's a whole lot of value.
He said other stream. Okay.
There's a whole lot of value on between.
Okay. Not us. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think it'd have to be a high first. But I know what he's driving at, and it's kind of what we were saying earlier. Like that guy, again, I think if Ricky comes out here and just looks all right, like he did for stretches last year, then I think most of the public, the value side will be on Ricky's over Ayuk, especially if you're not seeing him for a month. I do think that'd be Ricky in a first. It'd have to be a high first. I think that's a little light for Lad because of how attractive Lad is and where he is. But that's neither here nor there. But I kind of understand what you're saying there.
Yeah, but well, like you said, like McConkey is one pick behind Drake London right this minute, so that is a ton of value. Ahead of Rashee Rice, that's a ton of value. But like if Pearsall's killing it for the first month when Ayuk can't play, we're all just speculating on his ability to be back from injury. We don't know if he's playing in week 3 or if he's playing in week 12. But like if Pearsall's killing it for the first 5 weeks with no Ayuk, then Pearsall's trade value is going to be through the roof because we've already decided Ayuk's, the trade rumors were there. Like it's hard to see, you get one more year down the road in the contract and maybe it's a little easier for them to trade him anyway. The Niners, Ayuk would have to turn like just into a great teammate, locker room guy, which he might be already, but I don't see why you float the trade rumors out there. I don't see why you pay him and then float the trade rumors out there like within 6 months stretch. It's just awkward.
There was a $22 million roster bonus that he was due. That if they didn't, if he was on the roster at a certain point, that became locked in. So that could have been the basis. I don't think that had any legs from actual 49er sources. That was just, the contract nerds being like, well, he has this trade cleared, this roster bonus coming up, and they're going to trade him. It's going to be now. I think it's dead. I think the idea of trading him for the next at least year or two is probably dead. I'd have to go look at what the count is. But I mean, it's just like DJ Moore. They're going to be eating a ton of dead cap if they try to get out from
which we've seen plenty of teams not let that sway them from what they're doing, right? They'll eat it for a minute.
Most of the time, though.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. But yeah, well, Ayuk comes back and plays efficiently like he's been, and he's been really good for that team and how they operate. And if he comes back, then it all will be forgiven, and he's probably gonna be absolutely way outperforming ADP. Just 100%. Everybody's taste in their mouth is sour right now from Ayuk, from the way that got handled to then coming back, not being super great, dropping a couple balls here and there, which is not, really, especially in big situations where, a couple of dimes there and then he got hurt. So everything trended in the wrong direction for Ayuk's value. And now he's kind of in that weird age spot where you're like, he's kind of old, but he's not too old, but we need to see it again for his value to bounce back some. So certainly interesting.
Yeah, and probably to a man in the locker room of the Niners, if you ask them, they'll be like, we need Ayuk to help us win.
Yeah.
Right. So to a man. I think if you ask everybody in that locker room, they probably want Ayuk to help them get some W's because things didn't look so good last year.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Tua,
question.
do it.
What's that?
Tua, do it.
Yeah,
Pass.
I think we've talked
Pass.
about. I know it's a pass for you, Big Co. But and 7-7 is, I think it's still plenty good value. But I mean, I've been seeing him 8, 9, 10 in some drafts here recently, and like that's all day for me. Like
10,
you go back
I
and
could get on board with 10, but in 7, you could have had Ricky Pearsall or Jamison Williams or Luther Burden or Jackson Dart.
Sure, but I mean,
or Josh Downs.
I'm like, certainly. I mean, I'll take Tua over a lot of those guys. I mean, if you just go look at what Tua was doing he came back after that stretch, it was fantastic. He was awesome. Now he ended the season on a bad note, but Tua was fantastic after he came back from the injury. And so, if he's healthy and upright, he's a fantastic QB2. If he's upright and playing. And now that's a big if and or but, and we'll see how that goes for the rest of his career. This could be the last year of his career, or could play for 10 more years and be awesome and never really have another single problem, right? We don't really know, but at this point, like he's out of that 3, 4, 5 range, and he's more in the 7, 8, 9 range. And in that range, I'm willing to take the risk because I think he can greatly help my team for what I can get out of him for where I'm drafted him at that point.
He had when he came back from missing for the 5 games in a row, he had 14 and 17 and 9 as they trying to figure out the new offense. 2 of those were road games against the Bills and the Rams, but then he went on a streak with 23.5, 28.5, 25, 23, and then a couple of bad games down the stretch. I hope it's the latter, man. I hope he plays for 10 more years and never misses a snap. But this is my dynasty team I'm talking about here, and I might take him in the 10th round, but everybody else going to take him all those other rounds before me. But
at this rate, I mean, from where he's going, I could probably trade a 2nd round pick and get Tua. Like I would do that all day. Who'd you rather have, Tyler Shuck or Tua? And I might have to just add a little bit of something to do that right now for some people. And
all right, exactly. Well, but that's like trading Tyler Shuck, trading the ability to get Tyler Shuck at 2.8 in your rookie draft is a whole lot different than passing on than taking Tua.
Sure. I was just
Kenny
using
Walker and Jackson Dart.
I was just using it as an example of kind of where he ends up going in drafts. A lot of times, like he's around a 2nd round pick kind of value is where he ends up kind of falling.
That's a good point. I mean, if you're a winning team and you can trade your 2.9, 2.10, 2.11 and go get Tua, and for obviously Superflex, anybody listen to this, 1 quarterback, he should be off your board. You could get him you could get him for a late 2 based on where he ends up in most drafts. Yeah, this one he's a little bit higher, but we did scrape right past that Jared Goff at 6.8, which is absolutely crazy good value, and then Dak at 7.4. I know you said that, but like wow.
Yeah, the hate on Dak, Trevor, Bryce, Goff, all for me great trade targets. As far as if you're quarterback needy. And they seem to be.
Who was that second one? You said, did you say Bryce?
I said, Lawrence, Bryce. I mean, throw Penix in there, Goff, Dak, all those guys are on my list of, guys that I'd be trying to buy. And then, you get more expensive and it's, the Kylers and the Jordan Loves and the CJ Strouds of the world where I'm buying. And if there's any wiggle room on Caleb Williams, I'm buying him to even go up, a little further up into there. So, I'm locked into that. I did want to, if we go back up this board a little bit, we got Tet McMillan a few picks ahead of T, right? How do we feel about that? How do you feel about Tet McMillan or T Higgins?
Well, one's got a path to 140 targets, and one's T Higgins.
Yeah,
that's funny.
T Higgins was averaging 8.8 targets per game last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
and the Bengals, even though they did what they were supposed to do and drafted for defense, have no real ability to make the other team get off the field. Cannot probably find any way to pay their leading sack getter, led the NFL in Henderson last year. Probably can't pay him enough to come back. So, I don't think that anything outside of injury can keep T Higgins from being very explosive this year. That's been my stance the whole time, but the injuries have happened and it's been very aggravating and very frustrating. Mm-hmm. But when he is in the lineup, he is a must start. Not even, just way up. But like Chev said, if Tet McMillan can get 140 targets and 110 of them are catchable, and 98 of them end up in his mitts. That's a very, very valuable asset at 22 years old.
I mean, we've got one season of T playing 17 games. His rookie year, he played 16 games, and then every other year, the most is 14. We're back-to-back years of 12 games played. So, from a per game standpoint, like if you draft T right there, you've got to kind of load up on those. And he did a good job of this. I mean, he's got the all aged team pretty much. He's rocking out with there. But if you can, like I've said this before, if T's my wide receiver 3, I'm good. Otherwise, he's not going to be on my team. Like I have to draft a bunch of depth at wide receiver in order to feel good about what T adds to my lineup, because he's going to the variance in just terms of his availability. Now he could get it figured out, and he could go on a stretch here with this new contract where he's playing 16 games a year and getting 130 targets and being incredible like he was last year. But that just doesn't, I mean, we can look at the past and it's always like little nagging injuries and stuff like that. And he'll try to gut it out and play like 2 snaps. And then, he's out for the rest of the week. And, you took a big fat 0. Cause I mean, you're basically in the Jordan Reed rules where if T Higgins is active, you got to play him. And then he just fucks your lineup over. So, at this point, I mean, taking Ted McMillan 5 picks later, I'm fine with that. I'm not a huge Ted guy. I wasn't a huge Ted guy, but also, I mean, we finally got Bryce Young, a legitimate outside number 1 weapon, and he's supposed to be a contested catch guy. So I'm interested to see how that works out. I feel like you can get a little bit more. If you wanted to trade Ted McMillan, if you wanted to tier up to that next round right there, if you wanted to go Ted and a late first for Drake London, I'd do that all day long. Whereas you might have to put something on top of T Higgins to get into the Drake London sweepstakes. Drake London going at 3.6 right there is criminally late. Like I think so. I haven't seen him go that late in any startup, but yeah, that's just kind of where I am with it. I mean, on a per game basis, T Higgins is always going to be awesome, always, and he's a great player. We all wanted to see him go to the Chargers and be the man and command his own target share. What does T Higgins do with 150 targets? Probably top 3, top 5 wide receiver, but we're never going to get that now.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to throw it a lot. So I think there's more, it's complete opposite of what Herbert's doing, right? They're going to have a lot more attempts. And there's not a huge pecking order. It's Chase, T, and then maybe Gesicki and some checkdowns to Chase. So, if he can stay healthy, it's I like T a lot, but that's the big if there. So Big Co, did you have anything else to add to that?
I mean, I like when T got that contract to stay with Joe Burrow and no defense, stock up T. And we've seen it. He wasn't getting drafted at 4-1 before that happened. So if the market has reacted accordingly. Like I have no problem if I go Brock Bowers in the first and Trey McBride in the second, and then I find a stud in the third, and T Higgins is my 4th player and my first wide receiver, I got no problem with that. And I'll just build out from there, which is basically the opposite of what Chev said. But like I have no problem with T Higgins being on my team, and I'm just going to put a tweak on it. It doesn't have to be the opposite of what Chev says. Like if T's my first or second receiver, then I'm just going to have to make sure I go ahead and grab a couple more receivers in the middle rounds. And with that theoretical build, I don't need to be chasing any tight ends late. And I probably got, it's not like I always work out to be able to get Bowers and McBride, but I did do that in a recent mock, and T Higgins was my first wide receiver. I think I might have taken a quarterback I took Jordan Love in the 3rd round and T Higgins in the 4th round, and I ended up loving my team. So that's just kind of experience I just had in a mock that wasn't real. There was no money, it wasn't a real draft, there was no trading, but I ended up with T Higgins in the 4th round as my first wide receiver on my team, and I ended up enjoying it.
It just makes me nervous, man. Like I like what Jesco, GE, whatever your name is, bud. I like what he did here, getting Rashee Rice and then loading up with some older guys that you could, I mean, if Tyreek Hill returns to form, if Mike Evans stays healthy, like you're adding a bunch of old guy variants But that could, I mean, if they stay healthy, it could hit. So I mean, you have to take more shots, more at bats to get it right if you're going to draft a player with the injury variance that T. Higgins has.
Yeah. All right.
Just let the record show. I disagree drafting Henry, Evans, and Hill back to back. I'll always disagree with that.
I disagree with it too. That's why I said he got the all old man team.
Yeah. That's a good way to be looking for a situation.
You could cash year one, and then you're going to spend 3 years probably trying to dig out of a hole.
I mean, that is 8 through 10. It's not like it happened 4 through 6.
Right. So you at least still would have Josh Allen, Saquon, and potentially Rice and Higgins to sell, and Josh Jacobs. So
yeah,
you got a good base. Out of that.
You got a good base before you got started, and I mean, I have no problem with any of those guys, but putting all 3 of them on the same team is definitely taking some chances.
Yeah,
he did turn right back around and then go to Devin Neal, K. Dot, and Garendo and Jalen Royal. So he went from the handicap parking to rookie parking right away. So he grabbed
the expected mother parking with the babies he's got. Well, Garendo's kind of old too, but Devin Neal and Devin Neal and Royals.
24. He's 24. Kind of old.
That's. I mean, that's.
He don't look old taking that.
Running backs age in dog years.
He don't look old carrying that football around the corner.
No. He's real good at American tackle football now. Don't hear what I'm not saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and they added Mason to give, or they added Jordan James to give him a little something different as another backup. So I like how that room could potentially shake out. All right, let's jump back into this mock and where we're at. We've kind of cruised through the 10th round. I'm not going to read all the rest of the picks here, but Godwin coming in in the 10th round, ETN in the 10th round. I like both of those picks a lot. Kyle Pitts going in the 10th round is worth a stab at this point for me if he can get it together. Pittman in the 11th. I know, Chev, he's not your favorite guy, but like in the 11th round, I'm 100% in on Pittman right there. Jonnu in the 11th seems nice. Tracy in the 11th seems nice. A shot on Blue. I'd have to see kind of where that averages out and see if that's a reach on Blue or not. But I mean, it could be decent, but I like the Pollard pick. I like the Keon pick. It might be a little early for Devin Neal for me. I feel like there's some other guys still on the board that I'd rather take some shots on. Whereas I think Neal can sit there. I'd be interested to see. We'll have ADP tomorrow for your pleasure. If you're a $5 holler member, you get your hands on that tomorrow. Start up ADP with rookies in it post draft. Anything else that's jumping out to you guys? I mean, obviously I like Tillman late here.
I like Devontae Adams at 10-8. I mean, we just talked about Henry. Yeah. Henry and it was the back end of a turn pick right there. Derrick Henry went 8-1. He did Geno Smith, Derrick Henry, and then when he came back around, he got Mike Evans and Tyreek Hill. Both those guys went in front of Devontae Adams. Look, I think we all would love to see Tyreek Hill get on the field, be healthy, be happy to be with whatever team he's playing with, and play for a few more years. He's one of the most fun wide receivers to watch, even as he got into his 30s. But Adams had so much gas in the tank last year, goes over and gets a lot of guaranteed money from the Rams, who are in, Matt Stafford win now mode, like doing it the right way instead of going all in and trading all these draft picks out in front like the Rams, like the Saints did, trying to hang on to Drew Brees' a Super Bowl window. The Rams are drafting young, collecting first-round picks, backing up in the draft, and then paying money to old players that on 2-year contracts that won't hurt them as they move into the future past Matt Stafford one day. I like the Devontae Adams 10-8 value versus the Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill 9-12, 10-1.
Yeah, and I like, he took Sutton and Adams back to back there. He's got Travis Hunter up there and the stack of Jacksonville, a killer FF this is, or is it PF? Killer PF.
Killer PF.
He's got Bowers he started with. So, he's got a fun team. He grabbed Chuba and Monty, and then he got Sharbs late as a potential guy who could have a huge role if anything happens. He's got Shaheed and Mooney and Knoll, and grabbed Goddard, who just kind of re-signed with the Eagles there. Could be, that's good value right there. So I like that roster a lot, and I like grabbing those 2 older guys in the middle and then surrounded by he's got some youth and then some middle-aged guys with like Mooney and Shaheed in there and super young with Knoll. So I don't mind the way that's getting built out. There was another one over here that Hoodie. We talked about him in the beginning. He took Jefferson, then he's got Herbert, then he went 4 receivers: Ladd, Tet, Odunze, and Waddle. Now, Waddle needs to bounce back to, kind of where we saw him in the first couple of years of his career. Odunze is a little crowded, but we love him, or at least I do. Tet, we just talked about him. I think he's got a really good path to easy target and success, and at least at the very least to be able to trade him, and if you want to try to move to a different asset, but he'll be kind of up in this realm of all these guys that he's being drafted around, and hopefully even getting a foothold to even move up a little bit for some people who could be all in if he gets the right amount of target share and looks decent doing it. So he's got 5 just great receivers. Then he took Herbert, he got Tua, he's got Anthony Richardson, so a little volatile in the quarterback room. And then he took Olave at value, and then he grabbed Etienne, Tracy, and Mason, and then Ramondre just super late, and then 2 tight ends in Arroyo and Theo Johnson. That those guys could be just absolutely smashing ADP. Love Theo Johnson, love Arroyo. So really, really like that build. They took Jonathan Brooks with his last pick. So I like the way that he put that team together. What are you guys' thoughts here on some squads?
I mean, that right there with the zero RB. I mean, Travis Etienne being able to bounce back. We talked about on one of the shows. I don't think Tyrone Tracy's dead. Jordan Mason is. I don't know if he's going to be the incumbent once Aaron Jones's new contract runs out, or if they can get out after 1 year. That one kind of stood out to me. Going back to Killer PF here, I like the way that he bet. Like, I like the way that he's taking the moonshots here, like in that 12, 13, 14 range. 12 and 13 particularly, because I mean Rashid Shaheed was a big play machine. Darnell Mooney put up almost 1,000 yards again, having solid quarterback play for the very first time ever in his career. He goes for 64, 992, and 5. And that's, with the ghost of Kirk Cousins playing quarterback and a little bit of Penix, even though, no, that was Kirk, where he didn't catch a single pass in week 15 and I lost because of it. But it's not a big deal. But I like the way that one.
Knowles, you could argue Knowles a moonshot too,
Yeah, I mean, like if Noel hits, I mean, those are him or Jaden Higgins have an opportunity to capture those 130 targets that are available between Diggs' departure and Steph and Tank Dell not playing in 2025. One of those guys is gonna absorb the majority of that target share, and Jalen Noel almost is a 1-to-1 comp with Tank Dell. Like, he's probably going to play in the slot. I mean, that's what we all kind of envisioned his role being. And you need to give CJ Stroud easy buttons. So you give him 2 big X receivers that can line up outside, win contested catches. Then you give him a guy in the slot that can get open. And I mean, if he's learning from Christian Kirk, who was a vertical slot, that's kind of what I think Jalen Noel profiles as. So yeah, 3 moonshots back to back. I love the way that's put together. And then Chance De Leon just kind of scattershot and quarterback with, solidified it. You got 3 solids. And then if something happens where Sam Darnold really sucks and Jalen Milroe is able to get in there, you've given yourself a Konami code quarterback that you got in the 12th round. He got enough capital to do that there. What about you, Cope?
There's a trade question just popped up right here.
Bruce just said, don't bring up the Falcons flop from week 15. I need to go to therapy to recover from that bad beat. So he's with you. He's with you, Chef. Go ahead, Big Co.
So this guy in the chat here, he says, who would y'all trade Gibbs for Caleb Williams and the 2-4 in a 10-team Superflex PPR? My quarterback 2 is Kirk Cousins. So in a 10-team Superflex, you took 4 quarterbacks that need to be started every week off the market or put them back in the market. So when I see that question, to me, I'm just like, if you need a second quarterback, Kirk Cousins, you want to put him on your bench and make him your QB3, I'm going to look around for a way to get, Jackson Dart, Geno Smith, Justin Fields, Dak Prescott. I'm shooting for that middle type stuff. I don't want to trade my Gibbs for a quarterback. Right?
No,
I got Gibbs.
No,
204 in that scenario could maybe be Jackson Dart.
Very easily. It could. It could be Tyler Shuck.
I know what you're saying, Big Co.
Well, yeah. So if you take off, if it's a 10-man league, 2-1 starts at where the 111 was. Yeah. So that 2-4 is a little bit better than the 2-4 that we think of in a 12-man league. But that's still like, I'm keeping Gibbs on my team because there's only a couple of those guys. Like you can find running backs later. There's Kamara in the 9th round. There's David Montgomery in the 8th round. And we passed by it and we were talking about a lot of stuff, but like Brian Robinson at 10-4, Brian Robinson, I have no problem if I build my team full of studs and he's my first running back on my team. Like I will do that. I will sacrifice running back points and maybe have a really good, maybe leave a hole in my lineup and have good points, or have a good draft pick next year and be full of studs. And I just didn't get any running back points for a year. But like Gibbs is one of those guys. Like if he's on my team, I'm not trading him away. Most likely, he's like it's got to be to get a haul. Like so
it's got to be something that.
Yeah,
it's got to be something that's uncomfortable for the other owner.
Very uncomfortable. And like obviously, we all think that Caleb Williams is going to have a big, nice improvement with everything they did with the offensive line. They just started luxury picking in the 2nd round with Luther Burden. They got talent on the offensive side of the ball. Like we all think that Ben Johnson's going to turn this around, but like, what if Caleb Johnson just keeps or Caleb Williams just keeps drifting around? And as bad as it looked, we talked about it last week. Like his numbers were still really, really good for a rookie quarterback. He only threw 6 picks and he played every game. So like we should be thinking about how great it was, but the whole team disappeared after that. That Hail Mary with Washington.
It's the Bryce Young, CJ Stroud conundrum, right? Like Jaden Daniels was so fucking good that we're not ever going to talk about how Caleb Williams, was solid as a rookie.
Right.
And he had
go after another quarterback,
What'd you say, bro?
Go somebody cheaper. Go after a cheaper quarterback and keep Gibbs.
Correct.
Is all I was trying to say.
Yes. I think I'm not gonna speak for Casey, but I think we're all in alignment there. Like you don't give up one of those cornerstone like dynasty dynamic players that can win you a week, give you a 50 burger, at a skill position for a guy that's a fringe quarterback one. Now, could he ascend? Sure, but you're taking all the risk and you're giving up the best player in the trade, and it's not how I like to play the game.
He did come back and he rebutted as I speak. He says the thing about it is I'm rebuilding and I've got the 1-1, the 1-2, the 1-8, the 2-1, the 2-2, 2-5, so I can easily replenish my running back room and getting rid of Gibbs. So I hit him back and said, well, trade those picks and get a quarterback. Don't trade Gibbs. Right. Like you can replenish your running back room all you want to. That don't mean you're gonna get the next Gibbs. Right.
Like we're hoping for that outcome with Ashton Genty. We're hoping for that outcome with Marion Hampton. You've already had it happen with Gibbs. So trade the 1-8 for, let's see here. You probably get the 1. You probably give up the 1-8 and get CJ Stroud.
Yeah, you got Gibbs and you got the 1-1. So you about to have Gibbs and Genty on the same team, dude. That's so much fun. And then you could trade back off of 1-2 if you need to. And you could with those draft picks right there. There's no reason you can't get Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. Like, don't be giving up Gibbs for Caleb Williams. If you're talking about giving up Caleb Williams or Gibbs for Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, that might be, maybe probably more like just Josh Allen for me. But I'm not getting rid of Gibbs.
Yeah.
Especially in a 10-team league, you have to get the most. 10-team league is all about the best starting lineup possible. And if you're worried about your QB2,
real quick, that sounds very, well, duh. It's always about the best starting lineup possible. But what you mean is like the higher, you have to have, depth is a little less important the smaller the roster gets. Like just the killer at every position in the 10-mans is what Big Cut was alluding to there. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So, all right. We've got to wrap this up here. I don't know if there's any other teams you want to talk to. This guy says he's new to Dynasty. Is it worth trading back in the draft? If so, what would you take for the 101? I don't know if you're Dynasty startups. So trading off the 101 in the Dynasty startup,
It says new to Dynasty startups. Is it worth trading back in the draft? And what would you take for the 101? So he does have startups in there.
Absolutely trade back from the 101 if you can.
Yeah. Especially if you're new to this, you can get a haul and then just keep adding to it.
It's hard to say what would you take for it because it's kind of a formulaic of kind of how you figure that out and go back and how far you're willing to go back, who's willing to pay to come up. So that's kind of the biggest part. But in it should be a premium. I know that's easy to say, but I love the idea of moving off the 101 and just, hey, move back to the 8. You can still get Burrow. You know what I mean? You can still get Mahomes maybe, or you can get a different player and you can get paid a shit ton.
Yeah,
you could move up a bunch of picks moved up and a rookie pick added to next year, right?
Get a first round pick, trade back to 1/6 through 1/8 range, get a first round pick next year, and then have one like your 7th rounder come up to a 4th rounder, your 6th rounder come up to a 4th rounder, something like that. So you can get another quarterback. You can get Penix or JJ McCarthy or one of those guys. You have an extra pick in that quarterback range, or you get in that 4th round while you're in the startup and trade back and end up with Dak as your 2nd or 3rd quarterback. You got an extra first already. You're in the middle of the 1st round. You get Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, or Brock Bowers. Get you a stud. Like, if you're new to Dynasty, just get you a trade back, get a 1st round pick, move a 6th or 7th up into the 4th round area so you can be in that area, so you can make sure you don't miss out on some of that awesome quarterback value. Start out with Neighbors, Jefferson, Bowers, go from there.
Yeah. I like
and
it.
If you're new to Dynasty, your rookie picks are currency that you need to be acquiring, trying to get as much of that as possible, because everybody's going to tell you you're going to, like, they're not going to be worth anything. I was listening to the episode What's My First Worth, where you guys were like, hey, we told you guys not to liquidate these picks because you thought the draft class was bad. And here we are in the 2nd round. There's such tremendous value in terms of, what's available on the board. We were like, everybody was saying how bad the class was. They're doing the same thing now with the 26 picks. So don't give up. Don't just give up on your 26 picks early. That would be my advice to a new Dynasty startup player too. Don't give up your draft picks easily.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. Before we head out of here, anybody want to give a shout out to any of these teams that had gotten built here? I was looking at Timmy TX is here. He's got Lamar, Caleb. He's got the four wide receivers: AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Xavier Worthy, DJ Moore. Then he came back with Fields, which I thought was a little early. Grabbed Burden, got Joku, Swift, Pollard, and then some tight ends. I really like the start. Didn't love the finish there, as far as how that team was constructed. Probably would have went a little bit different route in a couple spots there.
Yeah, I like what he did. I think in the 10th round where he took Swift, I'm taking
Swift
Robinson.
And Pollard a lot.
I'm taking Robinson over Swift all day.
Woo!
There's
fire. That's fire right there.
Why?
I don't. If you had a chance to take Robinson and you chose Swift, like, if it works out in Chicago for Swift, great. But it doesn't have to work out for him. That's for sure. And we've already seen how easy that Redskins. I can't get away from it. We've already seen how easy that Washington offense was for Brian Robinson and everything they've done, and they've solidified. They got the offensive line. It's got a ridiculous amount of talent on it now compared to the way they started last year, week 1. Like, it's just going to, and they brought in some weapons for just like.
I mean, I'm taking Travis Etienne over both of them, but hey,
I'll take Brian Robinson and his built-in, like, easy rushing and some solid goal line work and couple passes here and there. Like, I'll take Brian Robinson is all day.
Who is Swift competing with?
Well, I mean, he might be competing with his head coach, man. Like, it's just not a gamble I'm willing to take right there. I have no problem taking Swift a little bit later than this. I have no problem if he's on your team and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I didn't lose Swift. I thought he was dead and now he came back. Like, that's great. But in a startup, when you have other options, I would just take. I'm just talking one pick. I didn't pick a running back 5 rounds.
I'll take. You were definitive in that one, and I'm on the opposite side.
There's no way we can know right now that Brian Robinson doesn't get Nick Chubb, right? Washington could find Nick Chubb.
Or their 7th round pick, or Eckler, or whomever. I mean, or he gets hurt himself, like he's been mid-nicked up.
Absolutely. There is nothing guaranteed about that.
I like B-Rob. I like B-Rob.
This running back has already been jettisoned from this coach. I will say that when that happened, and there's been a lot of talk about this, and there's going to be more and more talk about it until something does or does not happen for the running back room for Chicago. But like, this may be like crazy, like you dug a gold nugget out of the ground, because maybe it wasn't Ben Johnson's decision for his workload in Chicago. Maybe Swift and our coach maybe Swift didn't get along, so like maybe now that Ben Johnson is the head coach of the Bears, and he can make more like, hey, now this guy's going to be on the field. Like we're talking about 3 or 4 years ago when Ben Johnson was making his name. He didn't have that kind of pull back then, and that was when the Lions were just starting to have the come up. So there was a lot going on there. So maybe everything's going to be just fine. But we did see the press conference where Ben Johnson looked over at the general manager real quick and said, we didn't really have any good opportunities to take a running back, and we're happy. Like, we saw that, and we said, and we know that they were taking Genty at 10, which is fine, but it's not a condemnation on Swift because they wanted Genty, right?
Yeah, no, of course not.
But if TreVeyon Henderson would have, if TreVeyon Henderson would have still been on the board, probably, right? And then you get a little bit further down the list, they missed a couple shots at running back. They missed some really good opportunities to replace him, and they didn't chase and they didn't trade up in certain spots, which, polls said we got to be smart about this, and we're not going to chase that running back. And that's when, Ben Johnson whips his head around and looks at him. He's like, I really wish you would have got the running back I wanted, Yeah.
But Swift could be that guy, and there's no one. I mean, looking at his touch totals versus what Roshan gave you, I don't see how we can't. Now, we can't live in the same world that we did pre-draft where we thought Swift was dead. Mm-hmm. So we talked about that on one of the episodes where it's like, hey man, let's talk about what you would do for Swift. I mean, if you're a contender, like, why wouldn't you send a 26,
seems
26
like
get him on your team?
It's such a home run cut, I think. Yeah. Way bigger than what Robinson's giving you. If Swift goes, it's going to go a mile. Like,
right.
It's going to be crazy. And again, I would take ETN over both of them. So
now, that to me is, I mean, it feels safe. I mean, and Travis Etienne has been the RB3 overall before, but I want to believe that that's going to work out, but there's just that steam is starting to get to me about Basil Tootin.
Yeah, I mean, we shall see. I've been playing long enough. I've seen this 1 million times happen, and the Tootin's the outlier in this situation. And maybe next year he's not. But maybe ETN's gone by in 2 weeks, maybe by training camp, maybe by preseason, maybe week 3. Who knows? Maybe he's on Chicago. But
God, that would suck.
So, but no, I like Brian Robinson. I'm a big B-Rob guy. I think I like both of those guys a little more than Brian Robinson, though. Just mostly that I'm swinging for the fences there for the Swift side of things over Brian Robinson, which I think Brian Robinson is going to be a nice, pretty steady Eddie. I don't think you can. I think he'll be just fine. But again, maybe the 7th rounder comes and usurps him. He's in the last year of a deal too. Maybe it's some random guy. Who knows? Both of those guys have seemingly a nice path, but both of those guys also could easily be very much, stiff-armed into a much lesser role.
Yeah. It's unlikely that, their either of the 7th round picks in those situations are going to end up being the guy. But, to me, I would rather bet on Swift. I mean, I would rather make the bet on Swift. That's all I was saying.
Yeah. I would have moved Vermondre onto that team for sure as well. There's probably some other shots he could have, like Aaron Jones would have been a nice shot on that team. You could have got Mason and Aaron Jones there a little later, potentially.
Right.
Or maybe you couldn't have. But just the way that team was set up, I feel like just stabbing out a bunch of running backs through that back end is probably, and he did. And Woody Marks could catch a bunch of balls and be good. And Swift could be a home run cut. I love the Pollard pick in the 11th round. I think that's just a fantastic 11th round pick. So there's some differences I would make on that team, but I definitely some, I kind of don't mind some running back shots from 8, 9, 10, 11
for sure. Yeah. I love that Tony Pollard 11th round right there. That's super solid.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this one up. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back next Monday for another live stream. We'll be trying to do these every single Monday, so make sure you're subscribed. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate all you guys in the comments asking some questions. So keep that coming next week, and we'll see you there. Peace.